Okay, so welcome to episode 9 of the Monster Community podcast. So, just for those of you that don't know, the Monster Community comes about because there was an old project back in, sort of August even, um, called called Monsters of some sort. I don't know, whatever it was. But it's fair to say it got soft rugged by the devs. But we've grown such a community doing spaces and things like that. So a real community of traders talking about how to do this stuff. So as a community, we decided we wanted to derug. We've got original art, we've got proper we've got lots of one-on-ones and things like that, and we're minting at the moment. We're growing the new community. We're going to finish the job that the old dev started. Everyone had an old monster, has got a new one, and we're now minting to grow that community out and build that whole community of traders and sharing lots of good stuff and jumping on spaces and having a bit of fun. So that's the end of the sales pitch. I'm only doing it at the start because I never bloody do it normally. So I wanted to make sure we get that in. Today, we're here to talk to Max, talk about Pokey Universe and lots of other things about running these projects. But first, I'll introduce a new member of the Monsters community to the podcast. I think Sam might have popped on once or twice, but yeah, Sam, if you just want to introduce yourself, mate.
Sure, yeah. Good. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining our podcast. My name is Sam, I'm Director of Development at the Monster Community. We are an unrugged project, as you know. Many of our community members have been with us for the better part of a year now, and we're just building our ecosystem. Despite the market conditions, despite everything that's going on, we are just keeping our heads down and building out our respective websites, our mint site, our merch site, and building some products, doing some different stuff for our merch store, planning NFT NYC. So we're a very active community, a very active project. And like Andy, you were saying, we're just, organically growing, meeting great people like Max along the way in our spaces, getting to have chats about all things Web3. And, everyone's got their part that they're playing in Web3. And Max certainly has his. It was a pleasure to have happened upon your project just days before I bumped into you in a space, and we got to chat. And Andy said, I have the Pokey Universe. He's the one who introduced me to your project, so I hopped in and got one, and I've gotten a few more since now that, which is often the case. At least for me, with NFTs and NFT projects, is that sounds like a good project, and like you might decide to become a part of it or a supporter of it. But then when you meet the person or people behind those projects, and you feel good about them and who they are, their vision and their smarts and their work ethic and all of those types of things, you were ticking all the boxes for me, Max, in our brief conversation. In the random space that we just kind of, like I said, kind of bumped into each other very recently. So I was very, very happy and excited when you agreed to join us today. So I'm going to pass the mic to you. It's very nice meeting you. Thank you again, Andy and Waldo as well. Always good to see you guys. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Max.
Sure. Hey guys, thanks for having me. This is I hope everybody could hear me. I'm wearing AirPods. I don't have like a big podcast setup, but it's worked well in the past with Twitter Spaces at least. So I am Max. I'm the founder of the Pokey Universe. I live in the New York City area. I've been a designer, product creator for the past 20 years or so, working professionally in the enterprise software industry, as well as a couple of like web startups in the beginning of my career. I started Pokey Universe around August or September of last year. That's around when the first collection went live. I don't remember like the exact date, but it was around that time. It it was actually after right after I got back into sort of like the Web3 NFT space. Um, what happened was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with CryptoKitties or not, when that project was launched a long time ago, around 2016, I believe. I first sort of like thought like, oh, this is so weird. Like people are spending thousands of dollars, but then I got like FOMO. I bought some ETH. I bought a couple of CryptoKitties. That kind of went all horribly wrong, left a bad taste in my mouth, and I never looked back until I started seeing. So sometime last year, I would say probably around this time last year, I started seeing more and more regular folks that are part of the design community that I admire start getting into NFTs and publishing their projects, and I saw that they were doing pretty well. One of them is actually Pablo Stanley, who founded Robato's project. And I think when I saw what he was doing there, it kind of really piqued my interest. And so I started to think about what it is that I could do to test out some ideas. And that's how sort of like the original Genesis collection was born. There was no like master plan there. I just looked at some of the drawings I've done in the past and found a shape and a character that I thought was pretty compelling, and then started sort of developing them from there. And now here we are. I just launched the Pokey Universe collection. I think it's been a little bit more than a week now. I think this is the second week of the project. We minted out in around 12 hours. And this is where we are now. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, mate, you've just done such a great intro that you've just knocked off about 6 of my questions. But I really agree with you. There's something super addictive and collectible about these pokies. I even could see in the future kind of the next thing being doing 100K version of it. Something like that. Because I can see these little buggers being very collectible. I just like them, I saw them. I think I came across them trending on Icy Tools. Before I go any further, I just have to explain to you that Dog's had an operation this week. She's on the sofa at the moment. If she's about to get down, I'm going to have to dive very quickly, and because she shouldn't jump.
Take care of the pup. Take care of the pup.
Yeah. If I do have to dive, but yeah, in terms of the pokies, I saw them trending on Icy Tools, and then I was like, oh wow, yeah, I like them. So I think I've minted 3. I've got about 11 now. I think I've given a couple away. But
so you're saying it escalated quickly?
It does, because you just keep looking at them and go, I really like that one. And it's not about rarity particularly. It's like, oh, that one, yeah, I want that. And Stephen, who's a monster as well, who you saw in the space, he was in that space where you spoke, and I think he's up to like 20 odd now or something stupid like that. And he's just like, I love these things. I love
stupid or smart. Maybe he's smart.
I don't know.
Still figuring Stephen out. I think Stephen said he was excited to see this podcast today, Max. So provided he did make it, and even if he didn't, he'll be watching it before. So he's probably blushing right now.
I think I see it. He put his hand up in the comments.
Oh yeah.
So I see him waving at least there. Hey Stephen, how are you?
I should send him an invite. He can drop in.
Yeah. So you mentioned something funny there. Talking about like 100,000 pokies. When I was when I was mixing up all the traits, so the tool that I used is Bueno. It said something like, based on all the things that I drew and uploaded, there were about 3 million or so unique combination, and maybe even a little bit more than that. So lots and lots of variety there to make them unique. But I think at a certain point in time, it gets to where, yes, they're unique in a way, right? But like they look very, very similar to like all the other ones, and then it becomes unappealing, right? So I think for me, it's all about like continuing to do more, but do it in a way that would be appealing to the community. And you know, I haven't really talked about this publicly yet, but so there is a 101 collection of them, right? Those are going to be like very limited editions. There's about 23 of them there, and I'll continue to do 101 pieces. I'm not sure, you know, how many there will be, but they will be pretty rare in terms of their drops. So that's kind of one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, and I've been having some interesting conversations with a couple of folks in the industry, and this might be a little bit of an alpha here, but the question that I think I teased on Twitter and in Discord a little bit was, hey, where do you think pokies live? Right, with a big question mark. I even did a little thread in Discord on, you know, what fun names can we come up for places for pokies to exist, and there's some pretty funny ones in there. Let me see if I can pull it up. There was one for like Area 69, I think, which is great for continuing the trend of seeing the number 69. There's 6,969 pokies in there. There, you know, they were 0.0069 ETH, and so on. So I think Area 69 sounds pretty interesting. A couple of other ones that I saw were like the Hokey Pokey Club, where you can go and party, and other really, really fun names. So one of the things, and again, not saying that this is going to happen yet because these things take a long time to develop, but one of the things that I was thinking about is like when you do go to these places, you might be able to change your outfits and dress up, or just rotate, you know, what your pokey is wearing. So that is all I'm going to say for now, but just think about what could happen in that area.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's happened in a few projects before, to different ways. So I'd be very curious and excited to see what you might have planned for the pokies in terms of their get-ups, you know, and how they might be procured and, you know, attached onto them. So that's very, very cool. Very cool. What are you going to say, Andy?
I was just going to say that's got me smiling. You know, it's been a shit week, all in all, but yeah, that's definitely got me smiling because it's just exciting where this could go. Because I can kind of see this just growing and evolving. It's that, yeah. I just want to ask you more questions about. So where are we going? Where's the metaverse, Max? What are you building? What's the game?
Yeah, I would say, you know, no comment yet on that, but I should have some updates on this pretty soon. Let's just say it's a work in progress. From the point of view of like trying to establish like where this is going to happen. Again, I had a couple of conversations with folks in the industry, but soon enough, pokies will have a place to chill.
I'd love to get your view on that, actually, Max. And it's really hard to ask you this after you've just talked about this. So in no way am I trying to fish as to what vehicle you might use. But what do you think about the various metaverse options and their value? So, you know, we've talked about Bueno. We talked on that space that I'm hearing, you know, I'm in the Lobstars project. I love that project. Obviously, Robotos is such a cool project, and they did a collab with Lobstars, and they're all minting through that platform, which is fantastic. What do you think of the like metaverse platforms that are important to look at? Because like Lobstars has got a sandbox space, and it's really it's a pretty cool one, if I'm honest, but it's still sandbox, and it's like there are limitations around what you can do. So it kind of depends where you're trying to go for things. But I'm just really intrigued as someone in there, what are you looking at the moment? Because I think this metaverse area, there's so many options, isn't there? And let's be honest, there isn't the metaverse place to go at the moment. We're in that stage where there's 100 or 1,000 people trying to put plays out there, and where do you go? What's the right place at the moment? Any thoughts on that at all, mate?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. There is not a single place right now. I don't think that even like as an industry, we have figured out like what the direction even is yet, right? I would say right now we just have a lot of really smart and talented people exploring what this could be, but I don't think that we have nailed sort of um, the right type of tie-in and like something you need it to be very sticky, like not from the sense of like, oh, you know, I've gum on my fingers or like I dip my fingers, but there is some element of like I need to be glued to the platform for it to actually be successful and evolve, right? Like I think, you know, obviously like companies like Facebook have done a really good job with the social media aspect of Facebook and keeping you sort of like hooked on it. And you know, only by like leaving that platform are you then able to like look at it from the outside and say like, oh wow, you know, I was really addicted to Facebook, like, you know, checking it like 15 times every couple of hours. I think that, you know, I am intrigued by what other side is doing with the Bored Apes. Um, the thing though about building a full 3D world like that, I think that it requires like a certain type of individual who would even be interested in running around and doing things in that world, right? Like I think there is a heavy aspect of gaming that's associated with it. I think that's really tricky because in the NFT space, I think most people or a large majority is here for flips, right? For the financial aspect of it. They're not really here to play, you know, video games, right? If you're playing a video game, it needs to be rewarding, right? It needs to tie into to some mechanic here. I think other side has some of that potentially. I mean, again, it's not like I've seen it, but based on what they write on the site, like your land has resources, you can mine those resources. My head starts spinning, thinking like, okay, there's internal marketplace. You could probably sell your resources if somebody doesn't have, let's say, I don't know, wood. They'll be able to buy it and you'll be able to trade. So like I understand where they're going, but I also understand that like not everybody's going to be really interested in that, right? I think a lot of people just want passive income, and in order for that to be successful, like the game aspect of it needs to be the primary thing, right? It can't be the NFT is the primary thing, right? You need a very successful like sticky experience, and then on top of that you can layer economies and scale. So I don't know, I mean, we'll see what happens in that sense. But then on the other flip side, you have folks like Pablo and the Bueno team who are building their little version of the universe. They call it, I think, a microverse, They've done it for their robotics project. There have been a couple of other projects that they've partnered with to allow to be in that ecosystem. And that's like a very fun, interesting, like 2D experience. Again, folks, I don't see folks just jumping into it and like wandering around. You need to tie that to some sort of other experience. So I've seen what they've been doing with the microverse is they will usually hold like a Twitter Spaces, or they'll do something else. And then on top of that, they will invite people to like a room to basically run around and hang out together. I think that it could be interesting if the right sort of like mechanics are exposed. But again, I think it's just more of a place to go when you're doing something else. Like you're doing, like, let's say a live stream, on video, or you're doing a Twitter Spaces, and you can kind of all gather together somewhere else, and that's like your place to go, right? But I don't know yet if anybody has done a version of this community that that I find that I need to like constantly keep going back to, right? It's not like the video game yet, right? So let's say like Fortnite, right? I've played it plenty. My kids play it. Like that is an experience of its own, and you can't wait to kind of like go back and see what else they've built. Like go explore. They have their own economy. I think those things will happen in the NFT space, but again, it needs to be, the NFT can't be the central piece of it. It needs to be something else, and then the NFTs just power certain marketplaces or experiences in that. Whether it's like token gating certain areas, or like, you can only enter here if you hold a certain NFT or something else. But like overall, I think most of the industry right now in this space is looking at it the wrong way.
I think personally, a lot of people look at it from completely the wrong direction. They start from let's do a metaverse play, and then end with launching something, and at no point in any way do they like talk to the community. I actually had a really lengthy discussion about this with a project founder last night, and just telling me, we've created a land where you can go, and I'm going, that's cool, and it looks beautiful, and there's this and there's that and the other, and I'm like, that's cool, but what's the user need? What's the problem you're solving? How, what makes me go there as a user? Not someone saying metaverse is it, so we're going to slap a metaverse in this, and let's be honest, we're going to go and grab a NFT world. We're going to go and grab a X or Y, a sandbox, a Decentraland piece of land. But so what? So what value? What makes me go there? What makes me want to spend my time there? And
it can't be just like, hey, this is the place I go to talk to the rest of the community, right? Because there are better tools. Like Discord is a place you go and chat, right? It's optimized for that. Maybe it's not ideal. There are better ways of doing that, but you have Twitter, you have Discord, you have these tools that are really good at enabling communication, right? Like when you're running around in your microverse, that's not really a good way to communicate. It might be a cool way to just come in, show off your latest NFT, or like an outfit that you just bought, right? Like, but you're going there to do something else, right? You're going there for an experience. So as an example, again, I'm going to bring up Fortnite. They have these like events that they do like every season. They've had some concerts and other things like that in that space. Like that is the glue that I'm talking about, right? Like you're showing up to watch like a live concert. You're showing up to experience some sort of an event in this space, and then you leave, right? That's not a place that you constantly come back to just like run around and say hello to your friends. even when you're playing the game, like the way that you talk is you don't talk like in the game, right? Like typing, you talk through other means. Lots of people use Discord for like live chat, right? Like people use FaceTime or whatever else that they use. Like my kids, talk on like 5 devices at a time while they're playing a game. Like it just blows my mind. But you're there to do something very specific. You're not there to just talk. so that's what's needed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly my perspective, really. I think a lot of the times when people are like saying, "Oh, you can go here and do this," and I'm going, "Well, I can do that in Discord." Oh, but you can't do this in Discord. Okay, I could use Zoom for that. There's like Web 2 off the shelf products that do these things as good as, and it's more like, no, actually think, what are the problems you're trying to solve for people? That might be a compelling game. That might be a staking game, and I'm like, games can be really fun. They don't have to be high graphical or anything, but at the same time, you can go the other route and like talk about the Fortnites and really, full disclosure, I sort of work with them, but like company like Bridgeverse that's building Unreal Engine 5 sort of shooters, that is absolutely fantastic. Get gamers involved, get competitions, all of that stuff. But just at the other side, for me being an average NFTer, I'm kind of like, give me a game where I go in once a day and send my NFT on a mission, and maybe I get some reward out of it. That's about as much as I want to get.
Yeah, and I think in that sense, like something more like when I think about like passive gaming for NFTs, where you can earn like rewards, the thing that comes up to me is games like Farmville, or you know what I'm talking about, like where it's just like, hey, I'm gonna start building a building or whatever, or plant some crops, and then those crops are gonna generate like some whatever it is, corn or wheat, and then I'm gonna go and sell it. Boom, there you go. There's like your economy. It's like low friction. You have to wait like a few hours or a day for something to like actually happen. You come back, you gather your resources, you move on, right? That in itself like has a huge like community aspect of it too. Like I've seen like games like Farmville and others like build like their own little communities, and people are like, going all crazy on it. Like, hey, this is how we maximize our yield and returns, right? Like I'm going to plant, I don't know, poppy seeds, and you plant whatever, soybeans, and then we're going to go sell it, right? Like there are those aspects there, but those games also don't require you to spend like, 40 hours a day in them. You kind of go in and out like that. That probably will be like what succeeds the most in the space in terms of gaming. I don't see like big like AAA games entering the space yet, because frankly, they don't really have a reason to, right? Somebody like Fortnite, who already has their own marketplace and an economy, they're generating millions of dollars. What is a compelling reason for them to jump into the space?
It's interesting. Did you see the deal that I do have a decent contact here, but the deal that Epic Games did around building the metaverse? And I think whenever we talk about this in Web3, and Geo would kill me if I didn't say this, but I think people talk about lots of Web3 solutions, and actually the biggest players could potentially be Web2 gaming companies that actually buy into it. And because, they got people spending the most compelling reason for something akin to Fortnite to move across is like, hey, we got loads of people, maybe we sell them skins, they spend lots of money with us, great, but we don't get any revenue on ongoing things or anything like that. And actually, wouldn't it be better if there was an active trade that didn't require swapping accounts or something like that? So
yeah,
I think it's huge. You know, people always talk about other siders like big players, but I genuinely do believe the big players at the moment are the ones that can like deliver the games and then adapt and adopt Web3 in like the lowest friction way. If you could imagine, if you could just play a game right now and maybe not even know you're interacting with the blockchain particularly, you know, that not be front and center to you, but just that stuff. So yeah, I think that'll be an interesting market and see what they do. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like when I think about games like that, right? Like that sell, you know, skins or other things. Usually, like those things are just, you know, cosmetics, right? Like so they don't give you like an advantage in the game. I mean, and I'm saying usually because there are games where you can buy certain things that will give you power ups and other items. But I think it's less interesting. Like if anybody can go and buy it versus I have to do something to be able to get this, right? And it's almost like a prize at the end. So then when you say like, hey, I have, you know, one of these items and there's only like 5 of them in this world and you know, no one has anything else. Like I got it not just because like I spent a ton of money on it, but because I did something to, you know, to actually earn it. And then, you know, obviously, you know, you could resell it or whatnot. But I think like, you know, the way that like Fortnite works, right? Like they'll have a sale. It's not like capped sale, right? They'll have a sale for, let's say, like 24 hours. You have 24 hours to buy the skin. You know, if you don't, it's going back in the vault. Like it might come back a few months later. It might come back next year sometime. But they will rotate these things out, and you kind of have a limited time to buy them. So I mean, there is something nice about that. But at the same time, today, you know, they don't have an option for me to go and resell that, right? So that's something that NFTs could potentially open up. But at the same time, like you don't really need NFTs to be able to do that. You just need a good marketplace, and other games have done that, like Diablo and World of Warcraft, and I think like Counter-Strike have like interesting marketplaces where folks can trade assets for money. I don't know yet if there's a good reason for those companies to really use it. Like I still don't see a good enough use case of why they would pivot away from, you know, traditional way of doing it to an NFT space. Because yeah, while it could be on the blockchain and it could be more open and you can, you know, take it out of the game and, you know, go use that asset somewhere else. That's still, I think, a ways off, right? I think like a true way that this could be interesting is if there was a really nice like interoperability between like all these marketplaces and games, right? Where if I buy an asset in Fortnite, I can then go to Call of Duty and use it in one way or another. Maybe it's not an outfit. Maybe it could be like a badge on my character there, but some way that these things could kind of like live in an open ecosystem and could be transferable from one place to another would probably be a compelling enough reason to do it through blockchain.
Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, there's almost the current business model isn't to do that at all. It's to focus on your own things and sell your own things and sell as many as you can. So the reusability doesn't necessarily you've got to have some vision to see the business model where that actually adds value rather than takes it away from if you look purely at the numbers potentially. I feel like we've gone on a massive game diversion, and I will say, Max, you started it. You definitely started it. You dangled that little bit of alpha that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, the game diversion is important because it does have a prevalence in Web3 and a good reference point. To the gaming industry as it exists, the lion's share of it exists now. So I think, Max, like maybe there wouldn't be a pivot and divergence from the industry as it exists now, but perhaps as Web3 and gaming and Web3 and play to earn games continue to see their ascension into the limelight, there will be a shared vision, right? So like Amazon, they started with books. It was a good thing they didn't have the blinders on, right? They saw that there were other opportunities in other sectors. There were other opportunities to expand not only what they offered, but also, where their reach was. And, I think that we'll probably see a little bit of that. And like Farmville, for example, you mentioned earlier, Gala, Gala Games, they have Townstar, right? Which is, it's basically Farmville. But it's play to earn. You get your town coin, and that is a currency that you can use to build. From planting seeds and growing growing herbs up to like nuclear reactors as you get your ecosystem within your town going and all of that. So there are either larger gaming companies are going to decide, okay, we should also, have some sort of a schism and concurrent running of our Web 2 and Web 3 kind of platforms, while leaving the gap not too far away from each other. So there will be maybe down the road an interoperability and a bridge that will bring them, together as Web 3 gaming just becomes more and more. I mean, that would be the business model. I think that we would all share if we were heading up those corporations, which unfortunately we are not. But I think that it would be to keep the blinders on, like I said, and keep the hyper focus on what's working for you now and generating millions as a corporation. Is probably not going to be the way for them to continue to grow their business and scale. Is going to be to enter into Web3. So. But in the interim, you'll have town stars, and other innovators like coming in and saying, well, what worked over there that can work here under the play to earn model, So I'm happy to hear that, like a lot of the bright minds, including your own, within the space are thinking in those terms, And then like also, I'm sorry, just Playdemic, like another big gaming company. One of their games is like Golf Clash, so. In Golf Clash, you might be in the middle of April, and they'll sell like the Masters ball, but you can only get that for the week of the Masters, say, or something like that. And then you may see it again in another version for subsequent major golf tours or the Masters a whole year on from now. So creating the FOMO and the hype and wanting to compel people, their users, to to continue to invest into the product, and what they get in return could vary from actually passive income or passive token that is used only within the ecosystem, or just a flashy golf ball like in the game, whatever people prioritize their value, so that little bit of a like a hybrid in terms of choices in what value means to you and to Mr. Yellow and to myself. I may be the guy that wants the golf ball. Andy just wants money in his pocket, and you just want to see a more beautiful user interface, right? Like in terms of investing in whatever your threads are, what courses you could play.
I got to just chap in there. I seriously need money in the pocket. I've had very expensive vet bills this week, and then just had one puncture that cost me 4 tires and 500 quid earlier on this morning. So it's all going well this week. So yeah, definitely money. Money
All
for
right.
me.
Yeah. So I
I
know.
mean,
I know.
I suppose that's an important point with games, though. The most important thing is, if you are going to do them, is like building that really sustainable economy, because a lot of these feel a lot like, if you get in early, you're going to do well. But if those new users don't keep coming in, suddenly the economy collapses, and the token is worth nothing, and those sorts of things. So it's real challenging.
Yeah, well, and the other thing here is that the NFT market is, I mean, it's big, but it's nowhere near like, gaming market, right? Or any other market. Like, we're a very, very small market right now. And when you have games like, Town Star or whatever, it draws a certain sort of crowd, right? But it is a very small segment of that market. And like, depending on like what these companies are doing, whether it's other side or microverse or something else, right? Like, it's going to capture only a small sliver of the market right now. I don't think we're big enough yet for any one of those to take hold on their own. But I think that the folks that are coming in interested in like the Farmville type game, and they go to Town Star, they start making a little bit of money there. Eventually they see, oh, there's this other thing here. Oh, what is an NFT like, right? Like, what is this art thing? Oh, cool, I can own it. Wow, that also like makes some money for me. Great. Like, and they sort of like organically now stay in this community, which is great. Like, this is how the economy grows. But right now, like, expecting somebody to make a metaverse or a place to go and be, and expecting like the whole market to flock that way, I think is pretty unrealistic. Whether you're other side or microverse or somebody else.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how other side plays out, because is it that sort of simple game of resources and mining and things like that, or is it that fully immersive, shooter or whatever game alongside it? But yeah, I feel like we've done you a bit of a disservice going down the game line, mate. I wanna just make sure we cover what you've done, and what you've got out there, and cover pokies, and then maybe chat a little bit about what's coming up. But I feel like wouldn't be good of us if we didn't go over those. And I'm quite interested to hear the story as well, because obviously I've got involved in some of them. So you've got a number of collections out, haven't you? You've got Foundation, you've got One of Ones. There's so should we? So was this the original Pokey Genesis? Was that the original? Is the clue in the name?
Correct. That's the original one. Yep.
I do ask the silly question. So yeah, 81 items. Did you just release them en masse, or were they sort of over a period of time you were dropping them on?
Yeah, no, they were. I think over the course of like three months or so, I gradually released them, and they were just done, that way. It took a little while for them to sort of like catch on, but after a little bit of time, I think like maybe 2-3 weeks into the project, Gary V bought one, and then it just blew up.
Oh wow!
And all of them sold out. I had a couple of pokies that I released in this collection after that, but then I decided to cap it at 81, and move on to sort of like the next season of it. And that's where the season 2 and 3 of Pokies came out.
So was that One of One?
If you go back to the Genesis collection and you expand the description, there should be a link there for season 2 and 3. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So those are themed themed after Halloween, so they came out around October 31st. There's animated ones. There are some one-on-ones that I've done for community members. They were fans of the Pokies, and they have like little names. And there's a little doodle one, the one that you just hovered over. There's a Roboto's one right there where where you have Waldo. So that's inspired by his Roboto. So this was kind of like a fun diversion to go and do this collection. I didn't want to just keep dropping them into the Genesis collection. It felt like something that deserved its own separate take. And there's no sort of like master plan in that. It's just what I decided to do in the moment.
I'm not being funny. I'm seeing a consistent theme here that your holders are diamond hands, because that one's literally got none for sale.
Correct.
Genesis has got what, 8, 9?
But you could see the price escalates pretty quickly.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's so after 2 and 3, what then came?
So around the same time as like season 2 and 3 happened, that artist series there was what happened after, like around the same time. So I was trying to experiment. So lots of folks reach out to me constantly about doing collabs and kind of like they want to do their own version of Pokies. This was sort of like a test. So Dan is a really amazing designer, and he did this set of 10 Pokies, kind of like a hero villain edition. It did fairly well. It didn't sell out initially, and it kind of like hovered around that, but it was still a fun little experiment that we did. And there are a couple of other artists that have done Pokies that are in the back burner. They're just sitting in the vault that never got put out.
Yeah, well, just drop me the message when they're going out, because I just wish I knew about you when these were coming. Whoever bought that at 0.05, that's pretty fire.
So if I do release more Pokies, they're going to be in the Universe 101 collection. That's where I'm going to be dropping them from now on. So I think going forward, there will be, only 2 collect, right? There's going to be the Universe collection with the 6,969, and there's going to be the 101 collection. And this is where you're going to see really interesting things like that AI Pokey. So that was a version that was done in a combination of using this AI tool called Conjure.ai. I think they're going out of business, but it's sort of I uploaded the original work. It did like some interpretation based on some keywords that I gave it, and then on top of that, then in Photoshop I tweaked it and made some other edits to it. But that was a really interesting Pokey. I'm doing another one that's sort of very similar to that, called AI Pokey. That's more on the Game Boy take, and that one is going to be raffled off to one of the holders that has a Game Boy character in the collection. So it's going to be only one of them going up.
That's all right. I'm in the hat. I'm happy with that because that's yellow and blue as well.
Yeah.
I'm just whoever's selling that for 0.04. As soon as I've got it, that one is history. I love that.
Yeah, one. So interesting thing. I know that I mentioned this to you before we started going live, but so that Ukrainian Pokey and the other Ukrainian Pokey that you see there. Both of them I did as a way to raise money for Ukraine after the war started, and they were 20 editions of each, and we raised about 3 ETH in total that I donated.
Nice. I mean, that's just brilliant to raise that money, be able to send it straight across, help people like instantly. That is the power of blockchain. There's one other, you got Foundation as well, and I've seen people put these side by side with the Pokies as well. That one especially looks like one of the Pokies jump bottoms.
Yeah, the event. You don't have anything on the screen, but I'm assuming you're talking about.
Oh, like sorry, that's my stupid fault.
The Event Horizon stuff, right?
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that one. I think someone put it side by side with a Pokey, and I was like, oh yeah, I want those two.
Yeah. So those are experimental. So while I was doing Pokies, I wanted to, like as an artist, like you get into like creative blocks at certain times, and you want to do something new and fresh to kind of get your mind working properly again, to be able to sort of go back and forth. And so for me, the Event Horizon series was like a way to do that, right? So I have, like, in my foundation, those are all 101s Event Horizons. I believe there's like 8 or 9 of them. I also did, as an experiment, a version of that. Sorry, my phone just rang. A version of that where there are, it was a free mint, and there's a whole set of them on OpenSea, also called Event Horizon. Generative. So there's 80 items in that collection.
Wouldn't you know it, OpenSea's deciding to bug out. Okay, we can't bring those ones up. I won't push too much.
Yeah. Not important, but basically, like, it was sort of like a way for me to do something else to maybe unblock me creatively, or like figure out what I wanted to do with Pokies, or if I wanted to touch Pokies again, right? Like, it gave me a creative way to like just do something else.
So how many minted of those, mate?
They were 80. They were done. So the ones that are here are done by hand. The ones that were 80 were automatically generated based on a template and some color values that I worked on to combine. If you go to, like, a good way to get to that collection is if you go to my Twitter page and you click on that link that I have on there, if you wanted to see it. Yeah, the Event Horizon. Yeah. So these are all generated in code. And again, you notice the same thing. There's not a lot of them for sale.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to turn my mic back on. I'm talking to myself half the time. You've definitely got some diamond hands in the community, that's for sure. And I feel like I've got to avoid saying this is not financial advice, but this does bring us on to Pokies. This is the history. These are the collections you did before Pokies. And then just like tell us how Pokies came about, because I know you've been thinking about it for a long time, but it was quite quick the way it was done, wasn't it? It was released.
Well, if by quick you mean like almost a year of work, then yeah, it was pretty quick. I think the initial sort of like design of the character, I experimented a little bit with in or around 2016, and it's not like, you know, between 2016 and now is like, well, how long I worked on it. No, right? But I would say that these are from about a year of like going back and forth and fine tuning the collection. The final, like when I got to this final design, and you could see like between the Genesis collection and some of the other ones, like they got larger. There are other like interesting um, tidbits that changed in terms of like the illustration itself. They are pretty similar, but they're also like very, very different when you look at all the little details that changed over time. And that's just the, you know, evolution of the, you know, of the design process, right? Like that time allowed me to really, really fine tune it. And there's a lot of things that there are a lot of pokies that were left on the chopping block in terms of like outfits and other things that I've tried, or like other iterations of it. This is basically like what around 3-4 months of like work led up to, between like finishing off the Genesis and those collections, and then doing Event Horizon, and then really like setting my mind on, hey, I'm going to do this, right? Like I'm going to launch a big collection. What does that take? So then I started thinking about playing around with, okay, I need to refine the shapes. I really need to focus on like how they are, you know, combined. So this is where like tools like Bueno comes along, but it also then let me think about like all the different traits, all the different ways that those would layer together, right? Like it required a lot of under the hood work to be able to generate these, because prior to this, all the Pokies that you see like in the Genesis collection and like Series 2 and even like the ones that Dan did in the Artist series, they're all sort of done by hand, right? There was no like magic that would just like generate all of them for me.
Yeah.
And that was a big change in the way that I had to draw them.
And I feel like I've just because of the price and the availability, and because Steven's here, and we always take the mick out of him for his gem.xyz obsession, but this is a really good way of getting your collection together. You do save money, and it is a really good way of buying. And you need to sponsor Stephen Morse, gem.xyz. You've got someone out there. But yeah, I mean, I find it hard not to say financial advice here, but you look at all the other collections and the performance so far. You talk to you in spaces. What most impressed me about you was when the mint went on, you jumped straight into a space. And I was kind of working at the time, but I was listening. We didn't talk, but I was just really impressed with, you know, let's be honest, the meta at the moment for free or cheap mints is not exactly something you'd want to onboard people into NFTs and show them what's minting, is it? I mean, but this one just stood out. Yeah, quality, and the fact that you were in spaces, and the Discord was good and lively and fun. You know, it had a good vibe. So yeah, it's such a good collection, and so cheap at the moment.
Yeah. So speaking of Discord, like my one of the things, like, you know, I talk a lot about like, hey, you know, there's no utility, there's no like roadmap or any promises, right? But one of my intentions is to build like a really close knit like Discord community. I don't care if it's like 10 people in there talking every day, or 700 people, or, you know, 7,000. To me, like the most important thing is that the folks in the community can kind of like come together and get to know each other. And I I got sent something the other day that I think tells you everything you need to know about like the current community. So this was a complete shock to me. I'm gonna pull this up right now because this is going to be on my wall, and I'm not. It's hard to see because my camera is blurry, but basically it's the 101 Pokey from the collection, and then on it, like some folks just basically like added their signatures, and there are all sorts of really interesting messages in there uh, from from the Pokey folks. So this
Very
is going to
cool.
be on my wall. Really nice gesture from the community.
I love it. And that's what community is about, isn't it? It's being able to connect with people like yourself on a day-to-day basis, being able to commute, to talk to other people that love the collection and are along for the ride. You never promised anything. It was a free mint. There's stuff happening all the time. I've got to be honest, when you just look at the pedigree and you just think, I'll tell you what, if Gary V went in and swept 2 or 3 now, that would certainly, the whole complexion of that collection would change in an instant, or various other people who are influencers as well. But yeah, I just think with this at the moment, have a look and they make you smile. They're nice.
They do. You want to reach and just grab them all of them in front of you right now, right on the screen as you look at them. They are very, very collectible look. They have a feeling of tangibility despite their digital nature. Definitely love them, and when I got one, there was just no stopping. So going to continue to go through the collection. As we're speaking now, I'm like, just more impressed by you and your vision and your experience going back. So thank you so much for joining us today, Max. I really appreciate it, and I love that we're in close proximity enough that hopefully we can bump into each other IRL sometime soon.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
I agree, mate. Thank you so much. Oh, wait a sec. Terps has got a question. So before we do that, question for Max: thoughts of future collections and thoughts on adding music to future collections. That's not loaded at all. Terps is also a Web3 star. Terps can produce some serious beats if you want them. Honestly, mate, you'll see him in spaces. You won't be able to avoid him. But
that would be fun to be able to hit the play button on my little Walkman Pokey Universe, right? And get some Terps beats in there.
So to answer the question, no thoughts yet on future collections. I kind of teased a little bit in the beginning of like things that could happen and things that I was thinking about in terms of like a place for Pokies to hang out or ability to swap outfits and dress up to go to certain areas. The music, obviously I'm not a musician, so it's not the first thing that comes to my mind. But I mean, like, it would be dope to have some music, especially if it's going to be somewhere in the metaverse or like a Pokey hangout space, Club 69 or something like that, where we could play some beats would be kind of cool. I don't know if that answers the question or that's an answer that you were hoping for, but yeah, that's kind of like where my mind is right now.
Terps is going super creative at the moment. Every time I go into a room with him, there's the new beat that he's worked on yesterday. It's amazing. Someone's asking why they can't see old Waldo. That's because
that is actually him.
Yeah, that is me.
Yeah,
he's a monster personified.
I just don't have a camera, so it's kind of hard.
And also, we all have barking dog syndrome potentially at times as well. Max, one last thing, because obviously we've gone over time, which we normally do, but I've just been so interested to hear about the whole lot, really. And you know, as I said to you, the reason I bought, I invest in teams. If I hear people and I think they're genuine, I'm like, bang, I'll go for that. That can sit in the wallet, and you know, 9 times out of 10, good people are going to produce good things. You know, but yeah, you were talking about in real life meetups, guys. Aren't you both going to be at NFT NYC? Sam, actually, all three of you except the stupid UK person here. But yeah, you're all going to be at NFT NYC, aren't you? I don't know whether, I mean, obviously, Max, you'll probably be in the Moonbirds event.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
going
no, that's cool. That's cool. I'll be in touch this week, Max. Yeah, hopefully, you know, over the convention or at a satellite event, or you know, if not, sometime between now and then, or then and after.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll definitely be around. There's no like planned like special Pokey meetups or anything like that. But I'll be around. I'll be hovering around saying hi to some folks.
Get yourself a
Cool.
Shonen Junk, mate, because they got Blau doing their party at NFT NYC. So it's worth having Shonen from the start. Terps is asking, where is Max from? I think we kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm around the New York City area. I'm currently in Jersey, right outside the city.
Your background is Ukrainian, isn't it?
Yeah, I was born in Ukraine. I moved to US when I was 14. So I've been here quite a while. I'm old.
Yeah,
Maybe it doesn't look like I'm old, but you know, I'm gonna be 39 this year, so I'm getting to the 40 mark.
I'm actually 17, but 6 months in NFT this year.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to finish off, massive thanks. What are you most looking forward to in NFT NYC? What's the biggest thing for you three guys? Because I'm really fucking jealous. So yeah. What
I'll kick that off. I mean, I wasn't even going to go to the conference, but then I realized how jealous you would be if I did go. So that prompted me to purchase a ticket for it. No, I'm really same as the last fall at the last conference. I am just looking forward to seeing everybody, you know, and when I mean everybody, I mean anyone that I meet. Those 6 or so square blocks of the Times Square area of the city now are inundated with people who just speak our language, speak Web3, are excited about the space and its future, and are all sharing innovations and ideas and things that they're working on. And it is just an IRL version of our daily lives, hanging out in Twitter Spaces and doing our own work. You know, when we're not in Spaces, so it's just like it's just like a magical week. I'm really looking forward to seeing it happen again. And the space moves so fast, even though it's only 7 months since the last conference. You know, there's so much more to talk about in terms of what we've experienced together and the new innovations that have you know, come into the headlines since.
And I've got 3 days there, so my first time to New York, so it's gonna be NFTs and try to see as much of New York as I can while talking about NFTs. I think the biggest thing I'm going to do is the meetup at Webstock. Is it for the monsters, Sam?
That's right. Yeah. So Max, I was going to offer you, you know, I'll pass on the invitation. Had I not done so already, to have you for sure as our guest at Webstock. That's Monday night. Webstock quickly is basically being run by a few Web3 developers and a few hippies. So these guys were Grateful Dead followers, Fish followers. Some of them that are part of the board. This is a DAO. There's a DAO pass that they're selling. There's only like 500 of them. So a DAO pass gets you into the event. But I worked out with them that all monsters are able to join us for free. We'll have a monster guest list, and Max, I will put that on your name on there if you're able to make it and interested. But there'll be some live performance of different musical artists, ranging from you know, kind of folk to like house DJs as the evening goes on. It's about from 5 to 1. It's on East 46, just a few blocks over from you know, from the actual convention. And there's going to be an NFT installation, which will include a bunch of monsters, which is cool. Yeah, and a bunch of us are going to get together there. So we'd love to have you there. So let us know for sure.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds cool. So let's just say one of the least favorite things I think about for NFT NYC for me is the area in which it happens, the Times Square area. Not a fan of that touristy spot, but there are many other really fun places in New York City. I'm personally not like attending the conference itself, but because it's in the city, I'm going to be doing just like meetups with folks that I need to meet, and that I think is what I'm most excited about is meeting some of the community members, but also meeting other artists that I've gotten to know over the last year, and catch up with them.
Yeah, that is the definite draw for me, in short. And I stopped short. I was almost going to go there and say like it's in the worst part of the city, but the thing is that because there are so many of us that are there, it almost feels, well, not almost, it feels different. It just feels different because there's so many of us bustling around, and you overhear someone talking about something, with an NFT, and your head gets drawn, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, are you from Cool Cats or whatever, whatever project?" And just meeting people just in the street, especially now. It was so cold in November at the last conference, and now, hopefully the weather will be with us. It'll certainly be warmer than it was. So I think there'll be a lot of congregating outside of all of these event spaces throughout those like 4 or 5, 6 blocks that the main conference is held. But the real fun, I would say, is for sure in the satellite events. So I'll be doing the after hours bit as well.
Yeah.
I'll have to buy you guys a beer when I get there, for sure.
Sounds good, Waldo. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Stephen wants to step in and say hello, but I'm just having to coax him through clicking one link. So Stephen, if you're listening, mate, just click the StreamYard link and you'll pop up in here if you want to ask a question direct. We'll give him a couple of seconds. He could be technologically challenged. Come on, Stephen, click that link. Click it quick.
Click it. I have no trouble.
Yeah, it's not that hard. You can trust me. There's nothing malicious in that link I just sent you at all, Stephen. Here's Stephen Morse.
Sure.
Hello.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So let's just say one of the least favorite things I think about NFT and
Stephen, turn off YouTube, mate.
All right, now we're good. What's up, Stephen?
What's up, Stephen? What did you want
Sorry
to say?
about that. You guys, if you saw my setup, you would understand what's going on. I got dual displays. I got lights in front of me. It's fully set up here, so it's part of the job. Don't freak out, Max.
Your sound is awful, mate. It's like really breaking up and cracking up.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God! Yeah, we're sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, maybe unplug and replug. But
yeah.
While Steven's just checking his mic out, I wanted to thank not only you, Max, but you, Andy, also, and Waldo for doing this every week and doing such a fine job with it, and everyone that's tuned in today and will be tuning in after the live session closes on YouTube. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to really have a good think throughout the week about our guests, as we're so fortunate to keep on booking them, including Max, and having a good think about what we want to ask and what intrigues us about that individual, right? Whereas like in spaces, sometimes it's like, it's kind of live off the hip, and then the space ends and you're like, oh my goodness, like I would have liked to have asked about that. thank you everyone for checking out this podcast number 9. It's only going to get better as the weeks go on in terms of the technological part of it. But Stephen, let me hear you. Let's see if we got the.
Let's give him one last chance.
I'm scared. No.
No. Nah. I'm so sorry.
Well, give us a text. Let us know what your question is so we can pose it to Max anyhow while we're here wrapping up the podcast.
I have a question for Steven while he's typing. How many pokies do you have now?
Yeah, how many pokies, Steven? You can
I
tell
think
me.
I think he said 24 in the chat earlier.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry, Stephen. I introduced pokies to you. They are addictive.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I hope people don't listen to us today saying it's a good thing. Not for a while, because I just need to free up a bit more and use Gem XYZ, sponsored by who sponsors Stephen Morse. Not yet, but they should do, because he talks about them every time. Who have you texted, mate? Did you private? He just wanted to say hi. So Stephen's come in to destroy our ears with his terrible audio to say hi. Okay. Common Stephen Fowl. Terpsies, you know, I'm expecting to see something about mids coming up.
Yeah, as always, Terp's on hand to call us out.
Let's wrap up. Stephen, you've destroyed this episode by coming up and with your bad. But yeah, I know what Stephen would
just
say.
cut this piece out. Just cut it out.
Mate, do you know what? I hate editing video. That's why I like going live, because it's like, this is what happened. So this is what people say. But thank you so much, Max.
Yeah, real pleasure, man.
Thank you so
in
much,
Discord. I'm really
thank
looking
you.
forward to whatever chances we get in the future and where this project goes. And Gary V, pull your finger out your ass, mate. Get this collection. For God's sake, what's wrong with you? You found the first one. This one's easy.
Hey, it only takes one finger to click, Andy. I don't know why he has to do that.
I mean, come on. Yeah, like I say, pull your finger out your ass. Come on, Gary.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much, Max. Thanks, Stephen, Old Waldo, Sam. We will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Bye.